Imagine a blood-soaked plain in ancient Greece, where the echoes of Thermopylae still ring. A year after King Leonidas and his 300 Spartans fell holding the pass against impossible odds, the full fury of Sparta unleashes. 10-0 battle. Hardened warriors march north, joined by tens of thousands of Greek allies, to face the remnants of Xerxes' mighty Persian army in one final, brutal showdown. This is the Battle of Plataea in 479 B.C., the forgotten vengeance that crushed the Persian invasion and saved Western civilization. Stay with me, because the raw, bloody details you're about to hear turn the tide of history forever. A year before the thunder of Plataea, the narrow pass of Thermopylae became a slaughterhouse etched forever into Greek memory. In the sweltering summer of 480 BC, King Leonidas of Sparta arrived with just 300 of his elite royal bodyguard, hand-picked Spartans, each a veteran of relentless training from childhood, men who knew only victory or death. They were joined by about 7-0 allies from other Greek city-states, Thespians, Thebans, Phocians, and more, all determined to block the advance of Xerxes' colossal Persian invasion force. For 3 brutal days, this small Greek army held the pass against hundreds of thousands. Wave after wave of Persian infantry, Medes, Immortals, and conscripts from across the empire crashed against the unbreakable Spartan phalanx, shield locked to shield, long spears thrusting in perfect rhythm. The Greeks turned the narrow defile into a killing ground. Persian bodies piled so high they formed barriers. Arrows darkened the sky, yet fell harmless against bronze armor and raised shields. Herodotus claims 20-0 Persians died in those days, a staggering toll that humiliated Xerxes, who watched from his golden throne. But betrayal came on the 3rd day. A local Greek trader, Ephialtes, revealed a hidden mountain path that allowed the elite Persian Immortals to outflank the defenders. Surrounded, Leonidas dismissed most allies to preserve Greek strength for future battles. He remained with his 300 Spartans, 700 brave Thespians who refused to leave, and a few hundred others. They fought to the last man in a final, ferocious stand, buying precious time for the rest of Greece to mobilize. When the battle ended, Xerxes ordered the body of Leonidas mutilated in rage, head impaled on a stake as a warning. Yet the sacrifice was not in vain. Thermopylae delayed the Persian advance, forced Xerxes to divide his forces, and ignited a burning desire for vengeance across the Greek world. Athens was evacuated and later burned, but the delay allowed the Greek fleet to regroup. The heroic last stand became legend, inspiring every free Greek to fight harder. This searing memory of 300 Spartans dying defiantly against impossible odds fueled the fire that would blaze a year later at Plataea, where Sparta unleashed its full wrath to avenge their fallen king and shatter the Persian dream of conquest forever. With the memory of Thermopylae still raw, Greek city-states rallied as never before. Sparta, long criticized for its caution, finally committed its full military might to the war effort. Under the command of Regent Pausanias, guardian of young King Plastarchus, son of the fallen Leonidas, Sparta dispatched what was, for them, an unprecedented force. At the core marched 5-0 Spartiates, the elite full-citizen warriors, each a product of the brutal Agoge training system, raised from childhood to know nothing but discipline, endurance, and the art of the phalanx. These were the red-cloaked professionals whose very names struck fear across Greece. Accompanying them were 5-0 Piri, hoi free non-citizen inhabitants of Laconia and Messenia who fought as heavy infantry alongside the Spartiates. Thousands more helots, the enslaved population of Sparta, served as light-armed skirmishers and attendants, bringing the total Spartan contribution to around 10 zeros. 0 men. This alone was extraordinary. Sparta rarely fielded its entire citizen army outside the Peloponnese, guarding jealously against Helot revolt at home. Yet the insult of Thermopylae and the burning of Athens demanded total commitment. The Spartans formed the unbreakable right wing of the allied Greek army, their reputation alone a psychological weapon. They were joined by the largest coalition Greece had ever assembled. Athens, still smarting from the destruction of their city, contributed 8,000 hoplites under Aristides the Just. Corinth sent 5,000, Megara 3,000, Tegea 1,500, and dozens of other cities added thousands more. Plataea itself, site of the coming battle, contributed heavily despite its small size. In total, nearly 40,000 Greek heavy infantry gathered, supported by light troops and cavalry, making it the greatest hoplite army in history to that point. This was no loose alliance. United by shared danger and the burning desire to avenge Leonidas and the sacred soil of Greece, the city-states set aside rivalries under Spartan overall command. The army marched north into Boeotia, determined to meet Mardonius on land and end the Persian threat once and for all. The sight of crimson Spartan cloaks leading tens of thousands of bronze-armored hoplites struck terror into Persian Greeks and bolstered the resolve of free Hellenes everywhere. What awaited was not just a battle, but the decisive clash that would determine whether Greece remained free or fell beneath the Persian yoke. As the two vast armies faced each other across the shallow Asopus River in the rolling plains of Boeotia, a tense and grueling standoff began that would last 11 agonizing days. Mardonius, confident in his numerical superiority and unmatched cavalry, chose flat, open ground north of Plataea for his fortified camp, stretching over miles with wooden palisades and ditches. His forces, estimated between 70, and 100, including Persian infantry, elite Immortals, Median and Bactrian cavalry, and thousands of Greek allies from Thebes and other Persian cities, were perfectly positioned to exploit their horsemen. Pausanias, acutely aware of the danger, anchored the Greek army on higher, broken ground to the south, where dense ridges and hills limited cavalry charges. The Greeks formed a long line parallel to the river, Spartans and Tegeans on the right, Athenians on the left, and the rest in the center. For days, neither side committed to full battle. Sacrifices were consulted daily. The omens remained unfavorable for the Greeks to attack across the river. Mardonius, growing impatient and eager to force a decision, unleashed his superb cavalry under the ruthless Mecistius. Day after day, Persian horsemen swept across the river, harassing Greek foraging parties, cutting supply lines, and showering the Greek positions with javelins and arrows. In one fierce clash, Mecistius, gleaming in golden scale armor, led a charge against the Megarians, nearly breaking their line until Athenian archers and infantry drove him back. A lucky spear thrust, unhorsed, and killed the Persian commander, a heavy blow to Persian morale, yet the raids continued. The real damage was logistical. Persian riders poisoned springs and wells upstream, contaminated the Greek water supply, and intercepted convoys from the Peloponnese. Food and clean water dwindled rapidly under the summer sun. Greek soldiers grew thirsty, irritable, and weakened. Pausanias refused to be drawn onto open ground, knowing a cavalry charge could shatter the hoplite phalanx in the open. The standoff became a test of endurance. By the 11th day, Greek supplies were critically low. Pausanias decided a night movement was necessary to shift to fresh water sources near the town of Plataea and secure better defensive terrain while maintaining formation. Under cover of darkness, the complex maneuver began, but confusion and poor coordination set in. The center moved too slowly, some units lagged, and gaps opened in the line. Dawn revealed a disorganized Greek army, seemingly vulnerable. Mardonius, watching from across the river, saw what he believed was a panicked retreat and seized the moment for total victory. As dawn broke on the 12th day, Mardonius gazed across the Esopus and saw chaos in the Greek lines. Units were scattered, gaps wide open, some forces still shifting position from the botched night maneuver. To the Persian commander, it looked like panic, a full retreat in disarray. Overconfident after weeks of harassing the Greeks without decisive engagement, he convinced himself the enemy was breaking. Ignoring the advice of cautious subordinates like Artabazus, who urged restraint, Mardonius ordered an immediate all-out assault. Abandoning the safety of his fortified camp, he sent his elite Persian infantry and the famed Immortals rushing across the river to strike the apparently vulnerable Spartan right wing held by Pausanias and the Tegeans. His cavalry thundered ahead to exploit the confusion, while the center and left, largely Greek allies from Thebes, advanced against the Athenians and the lagging Greek center. The Persians crossed in disorder, their formation stretched and uneven in the eagerness to pursue what they believed was a fleeing foe. No careful probing, no waiting for full alignment, just raw aggression born of arrogance. This was the fatal mistake Pausanias had patiently waited for. Seeing the Persians committed on unfavorable ground, the Spartan regent finally received favorable omens from the sacrifices. He gave the signal. The Spartan and Tegean phalanx locked shields and began a deliberate, unstoppable advance downhill toward the onrushing Persians. The ground now favored the heavy Greek infantry. Broken terrain slowed the cavalry, and the river crossing had disrupted Persian cohesion. What followed was slaughter at close quarters. The lightly armored Persians, armed with short swords, wicker shields, and bows, were devastating at range but helpless once the hoplites closed. 8-foot spears thrust in perfect unison through Persian ranks, bronze cuirasses and overlapping shields turning aside desperate counterattacks. The Immortals, Xerxes' finest, fought with desperate courage but shattered against the wall of bronze. A pivotal moment came when the Spartan warrior Aramnestus spotted Mardonius himself, resplendent on a white charger directing the assault. With legendary strength, Aramnestus hurled a massive stone that struck the Persian general's skull, crushing it instantly. Leaderless, the Persian center wavered. Morale collapsed as word spread. The elite troops began to retreat, turning into a rout as the relentless Greek phalanx pressed forward without mercy. Thousands were cut down in the pursuit, trapped against their own abandoned fortifications, or drowned in the river shallows. The overconfidence that drove Mardonius across the water became the noose that strangled his army. As the sun climbed higher over the blood-drenched plain of Plataea, the full scale of Greek victory revealed itself in horrifying clarity. The Persian army, once a seemingly invincible tide from the east, lay broken and scattered. Ancient sources, particularly Herodotus, record staggering losses. Tens of thousands of Persians and their allies slain, with some estimates placing the dead at over 50,000. The elite Immortals were virtually annihilated, their bodies mingled with Median cavalrymen, Bactrian archers, and Persian Greek collaborators from Thebes who had chosen the wrong side. In stark contrast, Greek casualties were remarkably light, likely fewer than 2,000 total, with the Spartans suffering the heaviest but still minimal losses compared to their foes. The disciplined phalanx, superior armor, and tactical patience had turned Mardonius' overconfidence into catastrophe. Thousands of fleeing Persians were cut down in the pursuit, trapped against their own wooden stockade, or drowned attempting to recross the Esopus. The Greek alliance stormed the abandoned Persian camp, slaughtering those who lingered and seizing vast treasures, gold darricks, silver plate, ornate tents, and the luxurious trappings of Xerxes' court that Mardonius had inherited. The spoils were immense, enough to fund temples and memorials across Greece for generations. Pausanias ordered the richest tenth dedicated to the gods, including a massive golden tripod at Delphi, inscribed with the names of the victorious cities. The battlefield itself became a grim testament. Unburied Persian dead left as a warning, their equipment piled in trophy mounds. On the very same day, across the Aegean at Mycale, the Greek fleet under Leonidas destroyed the remaining Persian naval forces beached in Ionia. This synchronized double victory shattered any hope of Persian resurgence. Xerxes' dream of conquering Greece evaporated forever. His surviving forces withdrew to Asia, never to return in such strength. Plataea did more than end a war. It avenged Leonidas and the 300, restored Greek pride after the humiliations of Thermopylae and the burning of Athens, and secured the independence of the Hellenic world. The victory preserved the fragile city-state system that nurtured democracy in Athens, philosophy in Ionia, and the cultural foundations of Western civilization. Without Plataea, the Persian Empire might have absorbed Greece, altering the course of history profoundly. Instead, the triumph emboldened the Greeks, paving the way for the golden age of Athens and the eventual counteroffensives that humbled Persia itself. The brutal vengeance exacted on that Boeotian plain ensured that the sacrifice at Thermopylae was not in vain, but the cornerstone of ultimate victory. The brutal vengeance exacted on that Boeotian plain ensured that the sacrifice at Thermopylae was not in vain, but the cornerstone of ultimate victory. 10,000 Spartans and their Greek allies didn't just win a battle at Plataea. They avenged the 300, shattered the myth of Persian invincibility, and secured the freedom that allowed Greek culture to flourish. Without this decisive clash, the world of democracy, philosophy, theater, and science that shaped Western civilization might never have emerged. The Persian Wars ended not with a whimper, but with the thunder of hoplite spears and the final rout of an empire that once seemed unstoppable. Plataea proved that courage, discipline, and unity could defeat even the largest armies when fueled by the fire of revenge. Leonidas and his 300 held the pass long enough to inspire a nation. Pausanias and the full might of Sparta finished what they started. What do you think? Could the Persians have won if Mardonius hadn't fallen for the trap? Or was Plataea inevitable once the Greeks stood together? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read and reply to every single one. If epic tales of ancient revenge, legendary last stands, and battles that change the world grip you like they do me, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications. We're diving deep into more forgotten clashes, darkest secrets, and bloodiest turning points they don't teach in school. New video every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. Don't miss the next one. Thank you for watching, for standing with the 300 and the 10-0 on that fateful plane, and for keeping these incredible stories alive. See you in the next conquest.